everyone to this press conference of our group, S&D Group, and it's my pleasure to welcome Iratxe García Perez, our group president, to this first plenary of the year. So Happy New Year to all of you. And without further ado, I will hand over to Iratxe, who will give us an outlook on the plenary priorities and, of course, other issues at stake. And then there's time for your questions. Iratxe, merci.
Buenos días a todos. Yes, good morning to everybody. And obviously, I have to start off by wishing all of you a very happy new year. And I do very much hope that this is going to be a year full of good news and good health for everybody. We're starting off this part session, unfortunately, marked by the situation that has been caused by the COVID pandemic. And obviously, this is conditioning our agenda and our workings. But I would like to give one or two thoughts about the end of last year, because of course, last year, 2020, was a very difficult year. And the last few months of 2020 were extremely difficult when it came to negotiating the European response to the COVID-19 crisis. But furthermore, in addition to that, there was the negotiation on the financial framework and everything relating to the negotiations on the future relations between the United Kingdom and the European Union, i.e. Brexit. So the last spurt, if you will, the last few weeks, we were really fighting against the clock. It was a race against time in order to finish everything. There were a number of issues that obviously kept us very busy during the last week of the year when there was a part session. Obviously, the issue of Brexit had been pending, and all of us now know what the events relating to the deal are concerned, which was struck in extremis on the 24th of December. And then, of course, there was the role of the European Parliament. On the 28th of December, we had an extraordinary conference of presidents. We sent out a number of messages welcoming the agreement, but there was still a lot of uncertainty. And we had said that if there had been no agreement by the 1st of January, that would have been extremely worrying. So we welcomed the agreement that had been arrived at. But at the same time, we did say that as the European Parliament, we need to do our work. And obviously, we need to give our opinion on the content of the agreement. And we're going to have to accept provisional implementation, which was not what we had wanted. And we did make it very clear to the Commission, the European and the Council that this could not serve as a precedent for future occasions. Obviously, we accepted this because we had to. But since that time and through the various committees which are more directly concerned by the agreement, the International Trade Committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee, and then, of course, all the other committees that have to study the agreement, we're working very hard and together with the contact groups so that we can adopt a position on behalf of the European Parliament related to the agreement and how we intend to monitor and follow it up. In principle, the timetable is to have a specific extraordinary part session on the 23rd of February, specifically focusing on Brexit. We don't know whether we are going to have to delay that by a couple of weeks or not. But obviously, as the European Parliament, we do need to work to a calendar. And we feel that this is a fairly possible date. As I said, we hope very much that we can meet that deadline, although we may have to extend it by a week or two. So we finished the year with the MFF, the rule of law mechanism, the recovery fund and Brexit, and we're now starting the new year. And obviously, we're going to see just how all of these various policies are going to be implemented. The most important issues that we're addressing during the January part session obviously relate to these various matters. There's going to be a debate on the Portuguese presidency tomorrow morning, on the beginnings of the Portuguese presidency, and that's going to be an extremely useful, a very valuable debate to set the course for the coming months. We very much welcome the Portuguese presidency and a work program which very clearly focuses on social aspects. And the European social dimension is absolutely essential, obviously, for social democracy. And this is the slant of the Portuguese presidency. we need to come out of this crisis in a stronger position to take account of the more vulnerable sectors of our societies, and we have to ensure that the cost of the crisis does not fall on those who are more vulnerable. So the European social pillar obviously is absolutely essential. And we do know that there are going to be very many initiatives that are going to be taken by our group, for example, in this area. The Portuguese presidency is faced with the enormous task of getting the recovery fund underway and starting off a recovery, which should not only be green and digital, but also has to serve to give a boost to the social pillar. One extremely important moment in this first half year is going to be the Oporto summit in spring. And our group is working on very many initiatives to strengthen the social dimension of the European Union, which has been abandoned over the past few years. And this afternoon, we're going to start off a debate with the Commissioner for Employment, Nicholas Schmidt, and Mr. Santini, who is representing the European trade unions. Last week already, we did have a meeting within the S&D Group Bureau to address these aspects. This is what is going to characterize the European agenda, and this is what is going to be characterizing the work of the S&D Group, i.e. the social dimension. During the course of this particular part session, we're going to be voting two important reports, one on access to decent housing and decent living. And during this week, we're going to be having a seminar at the Committee of Regions and the Economic and Social Committee, the whole question of access to affordable housing. That's very important. And then there's another important report, another vote on the right to disconnect. We've seen that workers' rights need increased protection to take into account this aspect, something we've not seen before. Together with the Portuguese presidency, we have a debate on that, and we also have to see how we're going to be implementing the recovery fund. As you know, at the moment, the various national governments of the member states are working on their recovery plans. There are some countries which are already presenting their plans to the European Commission. And here we have insisted, together with Mrs. von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, on the role that the European Parliament can play in monitoring and following up on these recovery plans to ensure that there is a true European dimension. Another important debate, which is ongoing at the moment, and I was there at the beginning of it, and this relates to the vaccination strategy. I think it's extremely important to send out a message of hope, because we have managed to achieve a European strategy for buying vaccinations and the way they're distributed. And I think this is a real European success story, and we must really attach the right kind of value to this instrument. Not one single member state going it alone would have had the necessary negotiating capacity to set the prices or the amount of vaccines, if they were doing this on their own. And we've managed to see that together, united, we are far stronger. This European strategy should not be weakened by the positions of certain member states who have tried to play it off against unilateral purchasing strategies, or who have more nationalist health positions and have tried to do things on their own, which does undermine or runs counter to the principle that we have of a European strategy. The Commission obviously does have to be extremely demanding, and we want more transparency, because if we want to create trust and confidence on the part of the citizens, then we have to tackle misinformation, all sorts of ideas that are not really in line with scientific evidence. And we do have to be transparent in the whole of the process of the vaccination strategy. And this is something that we made clear to the Commission today. There are other issues on the plenary's agenda. Yesterday, we asked for a point to be included relating to the arrest of Alexei Navalny. The European Parliament, through its plenary session, has already given a very clear position on Mr. Navalny, and we do not want these fundamental human rights to be trampled again. And then there's the Belarusian Maria Kosnikova, also a member of the opposition. We want clarity there as well. We're going to have a debate on our external borders and migrations, because obviously the pandemic does not do away with migration at one fell swoop. There are all sorts of latent issues and crises, and there is the situation of refugees and migrants. I don't think anybody has not noticed the kind of images that we've seen since the beginning of the year in the press. It's very cold now, the temperatures are very low. We've seen the situation of refugees in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we must really send out a clear message here. And we cannot deny that there is a debate on the situation of Frontex and the director of Frontex. And obviously we know what the opinion of my group is on this. We feel that the director should resign. The work of the agency is absolutely essential, and the work has to be carried out meeting all our standards and principles in complete transparency as well. And there should be no doubt when it comes to the actual post and the individual that is in that post. And so this is a point we'll be making when we have the debate on that issue. And then, of course, the new American administration. We're going to have a debate tomorrow morning on the US administration. And the President of the Commission and the President of the European Council, Mrs. von der Leyen, Mr. Charles Michel, will be present at that debate. This is a very important debate, a very important moment. We want to send out a message to the new American administration from the European Parliament, from European parliamentarism, saying that we are obviously in full support of democracy, human rights, and we're looking forward to new opportunities for cooperation and dialogue with the US administration. So those are the most important issues that I wish to address. And obviously, if you have any questions, I'm at disposal to reply to them.
I look around. I do not see any hands. Do we have any questions online? I think that is not the case. Then I would like to say thanks a lot, Iratxe, and wishing you all a good week. Merci.
Thank you.